Welcome to the podcast, everybody. Let's get it started right now.
Alrighty, welcome on back, everybody. I am Sean Hanlon of the Release Valve, and tonight I am joined by a special guest, somebody who is an artist, created their own children's stories with adorable characters that have some pretty relatable character traits to them. Very beautiful artwork, very awesome stories behind it. I'm very excited to have Emely, I believe it's Varowski?
Varowski, yeah.
Varowski. Emely Varowski to the show. Welcome, Emely.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited.
I'm very excited. Like I was saying a little bit before we started recording that your booth just jumped out at us. My family and I were walking around a fair, and the color scheme that you have is again right up our alley on just colors that we like. So seeing these colors, it was like, oh, what's going on over here? And then you get closer, you see the characters on there. It's like, oh my goodness, what is happening? What is this little world that I just walked into?
Yes. I love when I hear people describe it as like a world, or like some people have come in and was like, I love your store. I'm like, it's not a store. It's just a tent at at a farmer's market. But I appreciate that kind of vibe,
Absolutely.
They're like calming and energizing. So it's like teals, blues, purples, and like lime green. So those are the colors.
Oh, it's awesome. I absolutely love it. So how did this get started? I mean, you got these beautiful characters that are beautifully drawn and colored, and these awesome stories behind it, and then you got all these other things that you're throwing out there. Plushes and shirts and pillows. I got my shirt on right here.
Very nice.
The stories, nice. The pins, like everything's. Where did?
I've got the octopus. I've got the cat.
Nice. So yeah, how did all this get started?
It really started out so I'm an illustrator, and so I draw a cat, a dragon, and an octopus with like motivational themes. It's kind of my business in a nutshell. But it started out as just drawings I was doing for myself. Like I went to school for graphic design, and I did, all of like that type of work. But my husband gave me a sketchbook, and we had like some downtime, and he was like, why don't you start drawing? Because you haven't drawn in, years since I was in college. And so I kind of it's kind of strange. Like, you don't necessarily come upon these things intentionally. I don't know. Sometimes people think that everything has to be planned, and sometimes you just happen upon them. And like I discovered the characters because I was just drawing, and I was like trying a bunch of different stuff, and then I was like, oh, I actually like this cat character. I think I'm going to keep her. And that's kind of how it went. And it started out as just me drawing stuff to motivate myself, and then I started adding the different themes to encourage myself through different seasons or different, challenges that, everybody has different challenges, but like that was how I was kind of navigating, was with these characters. And it kind of just went from there. That more people were seeing me, my friends were seeing me do it and telling me, that you should do a business with this. And my family saw it. Everybody's family tells them they should do a business with what they're doing.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Here we are.
Yeah. So I was going to ask, so it started with the characters first, and then the traits came along with it. Was that something that you looked at the character and you're like, okay, what kind of character is this? Or where did these traits come from for each of these characters?
That is a great question. And that was also not like, that also didn't really necessarily come with planning. It was definitely an along the way thing. The traits really started, the individuality of each character came about once I wrote the books, but that wasn't until last year, honestly. And I started drawing them in 2017 is when I started them. So like they all had like a generic motivational theme, like uplifting, positive messaging. Like that was kind of generic across all of it. But like the idea of them, like of each of them being unique characters didn't get nailed down until like spring of 2022.
Really? And it
Yeah.
was actually just putting the stories together that it was like, okay, who's this character? Who's that character?
Yeah.
Wow, that I cannot believe just hearing when you finished like putting these characters together to where you're at now. That blows my mind. I mean, you have the two books done, and I believe I just saw that you just finished the illustrations for the third book.
Yes. Yeah, we're like a week and a half away from getting that to the publishers. So,
Wow.
so yeah.
That's incredible. Talk about making fast moves. I mean, that is amazing. And you know, it was funny. I even said it when we were at your booth and at your tent, and our kids picked up the two books, and I was looking at the shirts. So I was like, I got to grab one of these shirts. They're awesome. So we're talking about it. We're walking away from it, and I'm just thinking, I was like, she is onto something, because like that is truly, you could just feel it. Like I said, you know, you're walking into this world, and it was all beautifully displayed, by the way, all put up together so well, and it just seems like this is something that you have been fine tuning for the past like 10 years 15 years type of thing. Like, you have it down so well. I would not have guessed that you just really got rocking in the past year and a half. Like,
It's amazing, like the different perspectives that people have, like when you're like from like being here versus being on the other side. Like to me,
yeah.
it feels like it's been so long. So like, I'm so glad we're almost done with book 3. I've been working on it since January. But then you say in the past less than 2 years, you've got 3 books. Like,
Incredible.
like perspective is amazing. You know, I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
this side
Because
it
when
feels
you're
so
knee
long.
deep in it yourself, it's very hard. You know, when you're in your own weeds and everything, it's very hard to take that step back and take a look at that bigger picture of everything that's going on. So I absolutely understand that aspect of it. But still, kudos to you and everyone that is involved in what you have going on, because truly is amazing. I'm blown away to hear that it's less than 2 years of really rocking and rolling. So,
With the characters as their own thing. I mean, I've been doing
yeah.
products and stuff for 3 years.
Okay.
It's been
And
3. I mean, it's been 3 years, but like, so, but the books came about because I started the business with the intention of like targeting adults, honestly, and I realized they're cartoon
sure.
characters, but like, it was stuff that again I was making for me, so I was targeting people like me, you know, and I was all
Yeah.
like coffee based and like lofty motivational things, and then these moms would come in and they liked it, but then their kids would come in and be like, this is awesome, and I'm like,
Yeah.
everything says coffee on it, you know, so like you need something else. And then that was kind of why the books came about. It's like
Okay.
these characters need a story, not just
Yeah.
a cute face and a motivational quote.
Sure.
Like, they need a little bit more substance to them, and that's why
Bring them to life.
when was when it got a little deeper as far as their personalities and the world they live in, and they have more substance, you know.
Okay.
That's what it was last year.
So yeah, writing these stories and giving these characters, like I said, bringing them to life wasn't even exactly on your radar at first.
Mm-mm. No.
Have you ever written stories before?
Yes. So not children's stories. Children's stories are a very different animal. I've written I worked at a newspaper for 10 years, and I was as a layout designer. So that's where like the graphic design stuff was. That's
Sure. Yeah.
what I did. But I wrote a column every week for like the last 3 years that I was there. So I was on being a stepmom. So that was
Okay.
so that's the kind of writing that I was doing. I've also
Yep.
you know, I've done other like personal writing, and like I have like, but it's more like long form writing, which I feel like
Yeah.
is easier in a way
Yep.
than condensing it down for a kid's book. It was it
Yeah.
was a very different animal. So I have never written anything like this before.
Okay. I'm a stepfather. I'm a step parent as well. But no, yeah, I definitely understand the I lost my train of thought. But anyways, I apologize. I lost my train of thought. Oh, the trying to condense it down to like a kid. I mean, that's kind of like parenting in a nutshell, right? Trying to, almost not necessarily dumb things down, but just simplify it a little bit to get them to understand, what's going on. So, that is a challenge that I face every single day as a parent, as a stepfather, and an actual parent. It's not easy. So kudos, and again, more kudos to you for going in that direction. Now, what did you find the hardest part of getting all this going? What was the biggest hurdle that you ran into that maybe even made you question what you were doing?
Um, a lot of things. The biggest thing, I mean, aside from like just my own self-doubt, which I definitely
Mm,
feel like probably everybody struggles with that, and like the whole imposter syndrome thing. And I was like, do I really know enough to be doing this?
yeah.
I mean, and this might be a little bit unexpected, maybe, but like honestly, the having the targeting kids as a demographic of my business,
Hmm.
I pushed against for probably a year. Like I really didn't
Really?
want to do it. And then, like, and it's not.
This is not for kids. This
It
is
was,
cartoons for adults, damn it.
I know, which is like a stupid thing to think. Like, why would you push against this? But like, so I had gotten I had gotten into an entrepreneur mentorship program,
Mm,
um, that was in, what was it, spring of 2021, was so yeah, spring 2021 to spring 2022, which is when I published book one. I was kind of that, it was during that mentorship when I got into that program and I was taking these classes and I had these mentors that were telling me and advising me like, think more families because you keep targeting millennial women, which is working. It's working.
sure,
But
yeah.
I think you can broaden it a bit. Like
Mm.
I think obviously anybody with eyes, like they're cartoon characters, like what are you doing? And I'm sitting here like, no, it's not for the kids. And like, which is a weird thing to like to fight against. But I finally did give in and I did do the book and I am very grateful that I did it. But it was one of those like, in writing the book, I was like, is this what I should be doing? Like this
Mm.
business, is this the direction for the business? Am I
This
qualified
is
to
not how I
write
saw
this
it.
story?
Like,
Right, exactly. This is redefining this section. And like,
yeah,
again, looking back, it's like, well, obviously this is the next logical step. But again, like when you're in it, it's
yeah,
very different than when you're on the outside and you're like, or even when you're parenting and like you literally see where your kids are headed and you're like, what are you doing? This is where you should go. But the kid's like, no, I don't see what you're seeing. Like
yeah.
that was me with this. Did that answer the question? Was that the
Yes,
question?
yeah. No, absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah, no, because
Right.
it's tough. Because again, that's one of my biggest hurdles as a parent, and was definitely one of the harder things that I struggled with very early on as a parent, was trying to simplify the things that I was trying to say to get them to understand,
Mm-hmm.
make it not too drawn out, because I tend to get very mouthy and wordy and explanatory, and I'm trying to go down the
Yes.
whole line of everything, paint
Yes.
this big old picture and all this type of stuff. And like you said, they're looking at you like, phew, just right over the head. Like, what are you even talking about right now? So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, again, my daughter is 5 now, and it's still something that I'm I'm struggling with every day. So, I shouldn't say struggle with, but something that I face
Challenge. It's
every
a
day.
challenge. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's awesome. So drawing was the first thing. How old were you when you got into drawing?
I have been drawing as long as I can remember. My
Out of
mother
out of
will
the
tell
womb,
you
picking up a
that was
pencil
kind of
and
just the thing that I liked to do. And I mean, I was writing books apparently when I was really little too, because I loved to read. And I
wow.
actually, it was funny. I got to speak at a classroom and read one of my books at a second grade, an auditorium of second graders. And I was like,
Nice.
okay, I need to fill like 30 minutes and it takes like 10 minutes to read the book. What else can I talk about? So I was
Ah,
trying to find something else and I found the first book that I have that I wrote, which was when I was in like kindergarten or maybe first grade. I think it was kindergarten. And it was like I rewrote the line "The Witch in the Wardrobe," and it's like obviously like
nice.
very like terrible, but like it was like the first, like I wrote words and I had pictures underneath to tell a story,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I was like 5 or 6.
But
So
that story from your point of view, like how
yeah, like
what you
how I
took from it.
summarized
So,
it in like
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I bet obviously to like a grown writer, it's probably like, oh my gosh, what is this? But like in that world, I bet that was a really good story that you had put together.
I mean, yeah, as much as you can summarize it in like 5 pages, but yeah.
Yeah. It's a long story.
And and it's not bad for five, I guess.
Yeah,
But,
don't cut yourself short.
so yeah, so I've been doing drawing for a very long time. I mean,
Okay.
as long as it's been always a thing that I like.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, has it always been that kind of style, or was that something that you kind of developed in, or are these characters kind of on par with your style, or are they just brand new, came up with them like completely different, never really done anything like that before?
It's not like the concept of the way they look, I guess, would be something that you would expect. I've always been kind of like more of the cutesy, wholesome type drawings. I never was really good at like edgy drawings, I guess.
Yeah.
But as far as the style of them, it was definitely like an evolutionary process because I had that sketchbook and I was just drawing a lot during downtimes, and it was one of those things
Sure.
I was trying to find a style because like
Okay.
you could do anything. So how do you
Yeah.
pick and commit to a thing,
Mm-hmm.
And so it was definitely like a discovery process. So when I look back through those old sketchbooks, you can kind of see the progression, and then you see the first time I drew the cat versus the way she looks now.
Yeah.
I started out, I was trying to draw a cactus. Honestly, I was trying to draw a cactus in a bowl, and like a cactus with like little nubs. And
Yeah.
I was like, I don't think it wants to be a cactus. I think it wants to be an octopus. And so like I made it I gave him legs and he became an octopus in a bowl instead of a cactus in a pot.
Yeah.
It was like
That's hilarious.
definitely as like unplanned as someone who has been drawing for a long time,
Yeah.
as unplanned as a drawing can be, this is kind of how they came to be.
Yeah. Now, that's funny. I grew up drawing and kind of a little bit of an artist myself, but something that I was actually just talking about this on my last episode that I just kind of lost passion for over the year, like a long time ago. Like I'm 37. I think I really stopped drawing like maybe when I was 17 or 18. So it's been about 20 years since I just really gave it up. There was a few things that I drew a little bit later, but yeah, just completely gave it up. The main thing was that I was tired of people to asking me or telling me to draw things. It was just that constant, yeah, I'm sure over the years, I'm sure you've had people, especially in school, as soon as people see that you can draw something, oh, draw me this, draw me that, draw me this character. Everybody wanted a Disney character of some sort, or girls wanted roses on their binders and stuff like that. And I just got so tired of it, so I just like completely gave up. But so for me, it's really cool when I come across somebody that didn't give up, that kept their passion and actually made something of it. Because I actually know a lot of people that can just throw something down real quick and it's beautiful and it's awesome and they just do nothing with it. That's it. They're just a good artist.
Yeah.
So when I see somebody that actually took that step, went forward with it and did something with it and actually was successful with that too, like that's a lot of, I'm just like, tell me more. Like, what was that like for you? Because that's, I'm almost living vicariously through those people, like hearing those stories. So I think it's awesome that when I hear that you've been doing it since you were pretty much a baby, and it's just something that you stuck with and carried with, and were able to do something with. So I think that's awesome.
Thank you.
Um,
I'm very blessed that this is what I get to do.
Yeah, and how cool is it that it wasn't planned? Like I find that a lot of the best things that have happened to me in my life were the things that I just wasn't looking for, wasn't even thinking about, and all of a sudden it's just this boom type of thing. Whether it's relationships, friendships, or jobs, or cars, or whatever it is. Like the best ones were the ones that I just wasn't looking for or prepared for. So, so I think that's really cool that that happened as well for you.
Yep.
So you said obviously you've been drawing for a long time, but you've been reading for a long time as well, right? You're a big reader. What are some of the stories, like some of your favorite books?
So, am a big reader and were a big reader are two different things.
Ah, okay.
I was much more when I was younger. These days, I mean,
Busy,
I
busy,
still
busy.
try audiobooks are the way
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
I go because I don't sit and read as much as I wish I did, and I wish we
Yep.
could cut this part from the podcast because I feel bad admitting this. But um, I will say one of my favorite children's books that I have read recently, because especially to do these books, I did try to do more like research
Yeah,
reading
yeah,
of
yeah.
children's books to do this. Is the question children's books or books in general?
Books in general, children's books, all of it.
Oh, okay, all right. I will say that my favorite children's book that I read in my research, because I was trying to really do this as right as I could, and I wanted to kind of not just completely wing it and just see what happened.
To dive
Um,
into that world and
yeah, and just kind of
immerse
see.
yourself in it. Yeah.
Yeah, there was this one book called Dumplings for Lily or Lili, Lili, and I loved it's basically a book about this girl who's cooking dumplings with her or baos like Chinese dumplings with her grandmother, and then she ends up going through this whole apartment building, getting all these different ingredients from all these different like ethnicities of grandmas who are also making their version of dumplings, and it's adorable, and it's illustrated by the author, and I
Oh,
just thought like
nice.
the whole concept, like it was just one of those that like not every children's book you get to the end of and you're like, oh, that feels nice. Like there were many that I read and I had so many questions at the end of these books. And I'm like, what is okay? And I overthink things. So I'm like, what is the moral? What are they teaching these kids? What is the point? Like, is the point to just be happy or just to smile no matter how bad you feel? Like what are you teaching? And
Yeah.
like this was one of the actually few children's books of the dozens that I was reading that I finished reading and I was like, this like it is wholesome and I feel happy having finished it. And again, I tend to go on tangents, so I'm sorry if this is also
No, no, no.
gentrifying. But I was like, that's what my books can leave kids feeling, or
Mm,
parents, whoever's reading, that you can
yeah.
get to the end of it and you're like, I enjoyed it. There is a semblance of a moral to it, and it ends feeling like
Yeah, yeah.
it just did not. And I'm like, how did these go? How did these get published? I don't know. So in any case, that was Dumplings for Lily is one of my favorite children's books from the the research.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yes.
Now, what about books in general? What is your style of book, or your type of book, your genre? What are you into, or were into?
Um, I hmm. I don't know. Honestly, I've been reading a lot of like young adult books, even as I've gotten older,
Hmm.
um, because I kind of like the drama that they have, like not necessarily like standard like high school drama, but just
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I don't know, like the sci-fi type ones or the
I
and
just started
type
reading Harry
ones.
Potter. I just started. I'm on book 2 now. Randomly, it was one of those things like when the movies and all that stuff were coming out. I
Yeah.
was that type back then that it was like, oh, everybody else is into it, I'm not getting into it type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so by chance, not by chance, but just randomly, I saw the first movie a few years ago. I think my wife wanted to put it on randomly. It was like, oh, I feel like watching Harry Potter. It was like around Christmas time, and she felt like that is a movie that it has a little bit of Christmas into it. So she felt like it was being festive, I guess. And so I watched it with her, and I was like, that was actually a pretty good movie. Like, how
Mm-hmm.
many movies are there? And she was like, 8. I was like, oh, let's go. I'm hooked. So I watched all the movies, and it was like, oh man, like, and then it was one of those. Yeah, but I hear the books are even better, and I was like, wow, well, now I have to read the books. So it took me a little bit longer, but I did get into the books, and man, they are good. So I'm into that genre as well. I
You
have
read reading
read.
them or you're audiobooking them? You're reading them.
I'm actually physically reading these ones. Yeah, yeah.
Good for you.
It's taken a lot longer because it's harder for me to dedicate that time to actually sitting there. I spend a lot of time in my car with my job, so I
Oh,
I like to listen to books more often than actually read them. But
mhm.
these ones I'm actually reading. Um, but yeah, I'm into that same style. I've read the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit, and those. That's actually what got me into reading was the Hobbit. Um, I want to say it was high school, we started that whole, I think the entire country started that whole sustained silent reading thing. You know, you had that time period where it was,
Mm.
you're sitting down after recess or lunch or whatever it was, and you're reading for like 15 or 30 minutes. I forget what it was. I think it was 15 minutes. But, and I never brought a book to class. So the teacher had a bunch of books just lined up. And, you know, for any kid that didn't bring their own book, you could just grab a random book.
Yeah.
I was such a punk in high school. I was too lazy to even go and pick up a book. So she picked up one, handed it to me. Here, you'll like this one. And boy, was she right. It's one of my favorite books ever to this day. So yeah, I like to read all different kinds, yeah, especially like nowadays that I'm getting older. I try to read more of like not necessarily self-help books, but you know,
The
inspiring and
nonfiction.
motivating. Yeah, yeah. But lately, I don't know. This past few years, it's like let me dive into some fantasy and just forget about all the crazy other stuff and just get lost in these worlds.
That's what I'm doing with the young adults. I mean, the rest of the books, like what is it? Atomic Habits. Like that's one of my favorite
Yep,
ones
I
as of
have that. Yeah,
recent because I've been doing. I again, it's all audiobooks, and I kind of feel bad that it is. But when you're drawing, that only uses up like part of your brain, so you can absolutely focus on something else.
sure.
But
Yeah, yeah.
habits, so like it's actually been great.
Nice.
So
No, that's awesome. So the characters, there are three characters, I believe, right? There
mhm.
is Skoshi the cat, Zeke the octopus, and Wisp the dragon.
yes,
All right. Now,
sure.
Wisp is that's the third book. That's kind of each book seems to be kind of based off of. It contains all the characters, but
Mhm.
is more about there's more of a main character that's telling their story in each of those.
Yes.
So if you wouldn't mind just telling a little bit of a backstory of each of the characters individually for those that aren't familiar with your stories just yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so Skoshi the cat. Here, can I actually show the plushies
Please
for,
and thank you.
for visuals? This is Skoshi the cat because we're doing plushies as well. They'll be ready in I don't know a couple more weeks, hopefully, maybe.
Awesome. So
Um,
cute.
but so Skoshi the cat is the she's like the optimist. She's the one who's like looking for good things, and that's what happens in book one. Is she's like she's been told don't go into the woods. You know, there's strange wild beings in the woods. You don't know. You know, you don't want to find them. And she's like, but what if there's good things in the woods too? And
Mm-hmm.
so her personality is looking for the best in every situation. That's kind of why her name is it's Skoshi because it's like Skosh means small. And that's something my husband has said all the time, and that's actually how she got her name because he's like just a skosh. So she looks for just like a small amount of good in every
That's
situation.
hilarious. I say
So
skosh too, and I didn't even think of that.
really,
I never would have even thought of skoshi and small. I say skosh. I heard it in a movie like forever ago, and I just adopted that word. I never heard anybody else use that term either. That's hilarious.
I have not heard anyone other than my husband use it ever, and I just thought it was a cute word.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome.
yeah, well, it's good to know that somebody else uses it in that context.
Yeah, I would if you remember afterwards to ask him
Yeah,
where he got that word from. I would love to know if it's from the same source.
I will ask him. That's a good question. I don't know. I'll ask him. So yeah, so Skoshi, so that's where she got her name. So Skoshi, and she is the optimist. And then we
Mm,
have Zeke the octopus, and he is like
my man.
yes, yes. He's the guy who does all the things. He's very energetic and motivational, and he's like the. I feel like there's like a little bit of each of these three characters in everybody, like to different degrees. Like some people are definitely the energy
Absolutely.
things, but they also have their view of life, and they also have a little bit of the dragon too, which we'll get to in a second. But yeah, he's the doer because he's got
Mm,
8 arms, so he can do all the things. Um,
yeah.
but he can't do everything, and that's actually what's in his book, which is book two.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's kind of about because he's an octopus who obviously this is not real, but he lives on land, and so he can't walk really well because he's an octopus.
Mm-hmm.
But so the point of the book is like focus on your strengths instead of getting discouraged by your weaknesses because there's a lot that he
Mm-hmm.
can do. So that's Zeke, and then Wisp is the third character. He's the little dragon, and he's like the quiet one. He's
Oh, he's
about
so cute.
he even has little love
I
Louis.
know. He was actually the first character that I saw, and I love dragons. Like I wish dragons were real, and I'm still not 100% convinced that they didn't used to be real. But so yeah, that was like the first character that I was like, what is going on over here? I see a dragon. Like I have to
Aw.
go.
He's like, I guess I kind of got him and the octopus when I picked their personalities. I kind of wanted to do it maybe opposite of what I could have done, because I feel like the octopus being
Mm,
in the water could have been like the chill, relaxed, like surfer dude kind of character,
sure.
and I didn't want him to be that.
Hmm.
And the dragon being, he could be the fire breathing, like energy, hot tempered, that kind of a character, and I didn't want him to be that
Yep.
either. His name is Wisp, and he's like he's much more quiet. He's the introvert of the group, and he's like the because everybody needs the motivation time, but they also need like the me time and the recuperating time and the quiet time, and that's kind of what he represents. Is the he's small but it's enough,
Yeah.
so.
Oh, I absolutely love that. I love that it's kind of the like you said, not what you would necessarily expect
Mhm.
from these characters.
Mhm.
Yeah, maybe there are certain aspects that would go with them and it makes sense, but overall, like who they are at
Mhm.
their core is not like everybody else.
Yeah.
It's not like all the other dragons, all the other octopuses, all the other cats.
Mhm.
They are a little bit different. They did stand out, and that's how they were able to come together, almost like a little island of misfit toys scenario.
Yes.
Where they found a community with each other, and I absolutely love the concept behind the stories, behind the characters. I love the artwork. I love it all. I love it all. It's perfect. I think it, like I said, you're really really onto something here. I'm a huge fan. My family is a huge fan. So I think it's so cool what you've done with with the characters, not just drawing them, but like yeah, bringing them to life and giving them such relatable traits. Like you said, every single one of them has a little bit of something that I think we can all relate to, and all have a little bit of those characters in ourselves. Like I said, I was drawn to the dragon, and I was reading up on him because you had their little bio on there, and I'm reading him, and I was like, oh, he's so cool. I love that he's wisp and he's quiet and all that. And I was like, oh, I can relate to that. And then I'm reading the octopus and I'm like, oh man, that is me to a T. Like every. And then I'm reading the cat and I'm like, oh, I'm a little bit of that too. Like, what is going on here? Like, I feel like she's pulling these characters out of me and bringing them to life. So, and I know that I'm not the only one that's feeling that. Like, it's like I said, when you're coming into that tent, it's a world that you're entering, and you truly feel that. You truly feel like you've just experienced something that and because these characters are so relatable, you feel a part of that world.
Mhm.
If and I just whether you're an adult like us or an adult like me or
Air quotes, definitely.
yeah, or a kid, or even my mom who was at the fair as well. She was loving it too. Like she was like, "Oh my gosh, that's so cute! Oh, I like that! Oh, I like So literally of all ages, it's something that there's something that you can take from it. Whether it's just the cute little artwork
Mhm.
or the relatable characters or the fun stories or like everything about it. There's something that you can take away from it. So again, and to hear that it's in such a short amount of time that you've really put it all together and started going with it. I hat is off to you. I think that's so cool. Again, I understand that when you're doing it's easy to get caught up in there
Mhm.
and get overwhelmed at times. But
Yep.
let me just let you know that you are kicking ass and taking names. Pardon my French, but you are rocking and rolling, and I absolutely love what you have going on.
Um,
So you just finished the illustrations of the third book.
yes.
And now what's the next step from there? What do we got with that?
Um, so we're going to get that published in the next couple weeks. I think, like, as of right now, we're looking at just getting So the story arc, I think, is going to have a total of like 6 or 7 books. So there are still like 4 more coming, and then that's like the complete like,
Nice.
series. So,
That's like the best news I could have been given.
well,
There's
like,
4 more coming.
well, like that's the thing is I've been trying to figure out. I'm like, so I have the story arc, but I'm like, is that too many? Does that get overwhelming, or do people like? Is it good to have variety? So I think we're probably going to go with variety, and then maybe stop at 7 and see what happens.
Sure.
But so there will be more books. We do have the plushies that are coming in the next couple of weeks. There've been a few delays, so it's everything has delays, and it's always like you plan on a thing, and then it's like not yet. But so
Life.
but it's still going to be before like the fall and the holidays, so I was glad for that.
Oh, good, yeah.
And then beyond that, it's like I'm haven't really started thinking about next year yet. That's kind of the goals for this year.
Okay, cool.
Is get the books and the plushies, and then next year we'll see what next year brings.
Yeah. Kind of take a look at everything that you got going on, and then formulate a plan for your next steps after that.
Can I show some of the illustrations from
Us,
book
absolutely.
3 for the visual ones?
Yeah.
For the video part. So that's kind of what they're going to look like. This is going to be
way.
about focusing more on Wisp and his like. This one's a little bit more narrative than the other two. Like this is a little bit more world building.
Sure.
Because he kind of discovers some things, and
He's a complex character for being so small and simple, and yeah.
That's kind of how like I was trying to tie like the moral into this one. It's like if he was a bigger character, he might have done that, or not a bigger character. If he was a bigger dragon, he might have done this, but he was a small dragon, so he did this, and that was enough. Like that's kind of how the story goes. It's like the things that like what he could have done, but what he did end up doing, and it was enough, even though he's small. Like it's not a bad thing. Like it's good. So in any case, so those are kind of some of the illustrations, and yes, so I'm really excited. I can't wait till this one comes out.
No, that is I'm excited. I mean that artwork is amazing in and of itself. So I can't wait to see it in the actual book. So from coming up with the story and in drawing all the illustrations, how long, and then getting the book published and printed, and how long is that process usually, roughly?
So the second book was the shortest one, because I started writing in like July, and it was done and in my hands by November. So that was the shortest one. Book 1 was actually, this book has been the longest. I've been working on this one since probably March. And we're in August now, and I just finished the illustrations, because that's also one of the things is like if you just sat down and did just the one thing, I'm sure it would take a lot less time. But as everybody's juggling 90,000 things, so it's like you're doing the business, so it's like I'm not just doing this; you're also doing all of the other things. So it's like
and then when you're doing that, you have to stop all of those other things,
right,
and enter that world yourself, and you got to think about the things that are in the background, and what are they walking by, what is the scenery, what does it feel like, because obviously you can draw the characters and what they're doing, but you also so there's a lot to it. It's not just putting the characters to the words that are on the page. You have to bring it all to life, so that's a lot. So again, geez, March to August.
Yeah.
And you have the book pretty much wrapped on your end, right?
Almost. And very close. I still just have to do the cover design, basically. We're down to the cover design.
Wow. That's incredible. So how did you get in the process of getting the books published? Like you have the characters, you're starting to come up with these stories, and then it's like, okay, now what?
Yeah. I'm trying to remember how I even found out about it. So that it's a self-publishing website. Like I'm not working with somebody. So it's really just somebody who will print it for me. It's a website called Ingram Spark. And I actually found out about it. That's how I found out, because way back, my friend, she was actually the one, she's one of the people who was telling me that I should make a business out of this. And then so I kept dragging my feet. So she had booked an art gallery and was like, okay, I booked an art gallery. You have to show up on this date because I don't have enough art to fill it by myself. And so she kind of like pushed me into this. So this friend also wrote a children's book, and which I did the illustrations for. And she had gone through another publisher, and that publisher told her about Ingram Spark. Again, sorry, that was a winding.
No, yeah.
So
I get
that's
it.
how
I followed you.
about Ingram Spark as a self-publishing place. And so like, but it's all, everything that goes into it is still legit. Like you still have to do all of like all of the categories and the Library of Congress number and the ISBN and the book. Like you still have to get all of that stuff, make sure that it's legit, and you could, sell it in a bookstore or sell it, online or whatever. So it's not, it's not just like getting a photo book.
Yeah.
I mean, where you're just putting a PDF and it's a one-off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
It is It is a legit publisher, self-publisher.
Yeah. And you were absolutely doing it. That is amazing. So cool. And again, I loved. I was checking out your website. I loved right at the bottom there. It summarized your goal for what you have going on, because it was. Absolutely.
I saw that.
And because it just jumped out at me, because I couldn't have worded it any better, because I feel the same way about what I'm trying to do with this podcast. With the world just going crazy in so many different ways and so many different directions, and all these things that everybody is going through and has going on, to just try to be something positive and have somebody focus on something other than all the craziness that's going on. And what you had on there was, to help you look for the good in the midst of the crazy world we live in through encouraging illustrations and memorable characters.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. I love that, because that's again, with the world in the condition that it's in, without going down that road of being political or throwing a tinfoil hat on or whatever else.
Yeah.
Just to have something positive to focus on and to enjoy and to learn from.
Mm-hmm.
It's so refreshing than a lot of the content that can get put out there, and the things that people are trying to get rich and famous for and doing and stuff like that. So just to have somebody that is, again, focusing on the positive things that they have going on, positive things that they personally have and that they can put out for others to enjoy and to take something from, and like I said, and learn from. Yeah. I appreciate what you're doing. And I know that it's just so good in so many different ways that everybody that is going to take a look at this is going to feel the same way and want to get in on it, as far as getting the stories or the pins or the pillows or the shirts or the plushies or all the things. So with that being said, if anybody is looking to find you, go to your website, or follow you, how can they do that? Where can they find you at?
My website is emvarodesigns.com, and I've actually been working on that a lot this year. So it has like a whole calendar page and everything. So that's where all of my in-person events are listed. I'm on Instagram at EM_VARO, so EmVaro, and I'm on Facebook as EmVaro Designs as well.
Awesome. It's awesome. I encourage everybody that is listening, watching, especially those that are just listening and weren't watching and weren't able to see the visuals that were put up, some of the artwork in my awesome shirt, and that beautiful artwork, I believe, is that Zeke in the back there?
Yep, there's the Scotia up there as well.
Scotia as well. Yep. For those that can't see that, that is amazing.
Thank you. I don't, my camera is too close to me, so like the wall gets cut off if I'm like at a proper angle.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, no.
The wall behind me.
No, I love it. Definitely go check it out. Check out her Instagram, Facebook, her website, anything and everything that you can. And so you're doing these fairs and these doing these tents, these booths.
Mm-hmm.
How often are you doing those? Where are those at?
Yeah.
What's going on?
I do them as of right now. I'm doing at least 2 a week. Every Wednesday, I'm at the North Attleboro Farmers Market in downtown North Attleboro. And then every Saturday, I'm doing at least one event, like Attleboro itself, not North. And then there's last weekend I was at Rhode Island Anime Con. I'm going to be at Granite State Comic Con in September, Rhode Island Comic Con in November, a couple of multi-day events in Salem in October. Like every Saturday I am somewhere. This Saturday is actually I'm very excited because I'm going to be at 3 events in one day.
Wow.
So that's going to be exciting.
Yeah, to say the least.
So, but there's at least one event. So almost every weekend. So
Awesome.
yeah.
So that's with that Zeke in you. That's just getting their hands in every little thing. Yeah. That's awesome. Do you have anything else that you want to promote or put out there?
I'm just really excited that you wanted to have me on this podcast. Thank you so much. I mean, like, your mission is awesome, and I'm very excited to be able to be part of that. So
I appreciate
thank you,
it.
Sean.
No, thank you very much for coming on and opening up, telling your story, letting people know about your characters and what you're doing. Because again, I just truly think it's amazing. It's great. It's just good, wholesome stuff on top of visually being cool. Again, for all the ages, adults, the elderly, adults, the children. There's something for everybody in there. So definitely, everybody that is listening, go check it out. Emily, again, thank you so much for coming on, and hopefully we can do this again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. Till next time.
Welcome to the podcast, everybody.